Your body holds the cure that your mind can't reach on its own. In the next few minutes, you'll learn 3 somatic gestures that switch off chronic mental exhaustion and restore inner stillness. Not through the force of thought, but by reconnecting with the nervous axis your body lost. There's a vibrational code hidden in 3 specific anatomical points that hermetic traditions safeguarded and that modern neuroscience has finally confirmed. When your mind won't stop racing, when you sleep but wake up exhausted and meditation doesn't soothe you. The problem isn't your mental discipline, it's the body that lost its function of sustaining silence. Closing this video now means continuing to try to put out the mental fire with more thinking, ignoring the only path that truly works. What you're about to discover will change your understanding of where healing really happens. Here's the inversion. The mind doesn't command the body, it reflects the nervous state the body transmits. When the diaphragm contracts, the sternum loses vibration, and the base of the skull accumulates tension. Your nervous system reads invisible threat and keeps thoughts sped up as a survival strategy. What you call mental anxiety is, in truth, a body that forgot how to signal safety to the brain. Exhaustion that doesn't end with rest isn't a psychological failure, it's a neurophysiological disconnection. 3 specific anatomical points have lost their ability to communicate presence and integrity to the nervous system, trapping you in a cycle of chronic vigilance. Restoring that communication doesn't require mental effort, but bodily language, touch, pressure, sonic vibration codes the vagus nerve understands without rational translation. In hermetic traditions, the body was recognized as a living temple where consciousness dwells through specific portals. The pineal heart perineum axis formed the central channel of vibrational command. What they called the bridge between worlds corresponds, in modern language, to the vagus nerve, the conductor that mediates every state of safety or threat you feel. This nerve doesn't listen to rational arguments or mental promises. It responds exclusively to bodily signals, to ritual touch on the sternum, to sonic vibration that passes through the diaphragm, to the subtle movement that frees the base of the skull. Stephen Porges' neuroscience revealed that the ventral vagus nerve, when activated, switches off chronic vigilance mode and restores a calm present state. What the ancients sealed with sacred gestures we measure in the lab today, but the somatic technology remains the same. The diaphragm is the first portal because it sustains the base of your breathing, and your breath is the first language the nervous system understands. When contracted, caught between chronic tension and collapsed posture, it traps air in the upper chest and blocks the solar plexus, the center of personal power in hermetic tradition. Each shallow breath sends the brain the message: there is danger, stay on alert. The body responds by speeding up thoughts, tightening muscles, preparing to flee. To free this portal, cross the palms of your hands over the center of the diaphragm, just below the sternum, where you feel a slight hollow between the ribs. Inhale deeply through your nose, letting the abdomen expand like a balloon filling slowly. As you exhale through your mouth, press your palms against the diaphragm while emitting a low, continuous sound, a prolonged ah, as if you were emptying the body from the inside out. The pressure shouldn't be strong, just steady. What happens in this gesture is a convergence of mechanics and vibration. Manual pressure stimulates mechanoreceptors in the diaphragmatic fascia, sending signals to the ventral vagus nerve that passes through this region. The sonic vibration amplifies the stimulus, creating an internal frequency that reorganizes the nervous field and signals to the brainstem. There is no threat, the body is safe. Repeat this cycle 3 times, feeling the diaphragm soften with each exhale. The sensation that arises is not subtle. The abdomen warms, as if something were thawing from within. The breath begins to descend naturally, without conscious effort, filling the space that was previously blocked. You realize you had been breathing only with the upper part of the chest for so long that you forgot how air drops into the center of the body. This return is the first sign that the nervous system is leaving chronic vigilance mode. The solar plexus, which the hermeticists called the inner sun, starts to pulse again. This point concentrates the capacity for emotional digestion to process experiences, integrate what's been lived, let go of what no longer serves. When the diaphragm is free, the plexus ceases to be armed and rigid. The feeling of being ready to flee or fight at any moment dissolves, replaced by a calm presence that doesn't need to justify or defend itself. Now, the second portal. The sternum is the central bone of the chest, the heart's shield, the point where emotional integration happens. In occult anatomy, it corresponds to aaahhhh, the heart center, not in the romantic sense, but as a zone of inner resonance, where what's above mental perception meets what's below visceral instinct. When the sternum is rigid, without vibration, the body loses the capacity to feel genuine connection with itself. You wake, function, get tasks done, but something in the center of the chest is switched off, mute, like a bell that forgot how to ring. This internal silence is what sustains the feeling of being disconnected, of no longer being able to trust the invisible, of meditating without feeling presence. The sternum needs to be awakened, and this isn't done through visualization. It's done through direct, intentional, ritual touch. Place the middle fingers of both hands on the exact center of the sternum, where you feel a slight bony hollow in line with the heart. Close your eyes. Apply gentle, steady pressure as you breathe naturally, without forcing the rhythm. Maintain this pressure for 5 complete breathing cycles. Then begin to make small circular movements with your fingers, slow, as if you were waking something that had slept for years at the bottom of the chest. The science behind this gesture reveals that the sternum houses mechanoreceptors connected to the cardiac plexus and the vagus nerve. When you touch this region with intention, you send direct signals to the parasympathetic nervous system, reorganizing heart rate variability. The heart, which had been in alert rhythm, begins to slow down organically. The breath follows, becoming deeper without mental command. The warmth that arises in the center of the chest isn't imagination. It's real vasodilation, blood flow returning to a region that was contracted. You feel the sternum soften under your fingers, as if the rigidity were unraveling layer by layer. Sometimes emotion arises, not clear sadness, nor defined joy, but a silent release the body makes when it finally has permission to let go. This is the moment when the middle temple reopens. Inner resonance returns. You don't just think you're present, you feel presence as physical vibration in the center of the chest. When the sternum is active, meditation ceases to be a mental effort and becomes bodily listening. You don't try to calm the mind, you allow the body to calm it from within. Now, the third portal, the base of the skull. This region, the atlanto-occipital joint, where the occiput meets the first cervical vertebra, is the exact point where the vagus nerve emerges from the brainstem and begins its descent through the body. Accumulated tension here compresses the nerve and blocks the two-way communication between brain and organs. In hermetic traditions, this area was called the serpent's portal, where instinctive knowing rises to meet conscious perception. When this passage is closed, the mind is isolated, with no access to the somatic wisdom that could soothe it. Thought accelerates because the brain isn't receiving the safety signals the body should be sending. To reopen this portal, sit with your spine upright, shoulders relaxed. Slowly tilt your head forward, as if you were going to touch your chin to your chest, but without forcing it, only until you feel a gentle stretch at the nape. Hold for 3 deep breaths. Return to center with the same slowness. Then, lightly tilt your head back, stretching the front of the neck, holding for 3 breaths. Come back to center. Repeat this rocking motion 5 times with extreme slowness and full attention. What you're doing is massaging the atlanto-occipital joint, releasing microscopic compressions that keep the vagus nerve under constant pressure. Each tilt reopens the passage of information by millimeters. The sensation that emerges can be sudden, mental clarity that cuts like a blade, as if a thick fog instantly dissolved. The jaw, which you didn't even realize was clenched, softens. The nape releases weight you'd been carrying without knowing it. Thought slows, not because you controlled it, but because the body finally signaled to the brain that it is safe. When the 3 portals are open, diaphragm freed, sternum vibrating, base of the skull unblocked, the nervous system returns to its original state, effortless calm presence. Audrey would wake up 3 hours before her shift at the hospital, but not by choice. At 46, a nurse's aide for 20 years, she lived in a body that could no longer switch off. Her mind would fire up at 4 in the morning with lists, worries, conversations that never happened, and problems that didn't yet exist. During the day, between patients and hallways, she felt the back of her neck weigh as if she were carrying invisible stones. At night, exhausted but unable to relax, she'd lie awake replaying everything she should have done differently. She tried app-guided meditation, but the calm voice irritated her even more. Tease, shallow breathing techniques, promises to just relax. None of it touched the real origin of the collapse, until, in a quick conversation with a colleague who also worked nights, she heard for the first time about something different. 3 somatic gestures that didn't try to calm the mind directly, but reorganized the body first. The colleague mentioned an online workshop she had taken on applied polyvagal theory, where they taught that the nervous system doesn't listen to mental arguments. Audrey watched the content on a morning off, skeptical, but when she crossed her palms over her diaphragm and exhaled with a low sound for the first time, something changed immediately. The air dropped. Not as visualization or intention, it dropped physically, filling the abdomen that had been contracted for so long she no longer knew what it was to truly take a deep breath. She repeated the gestures daily before her shift. Diaphragm, sternum, base of the skull. In 10 days, she noticed trackable differences. The jaw that locked during sleep to the point of waking with temple pain softened. The breath, once stuck at the top of the chest, began to descend on its own throughout the day without conscious command. The racing thoughts that woke her at 4 in the morning didn't vanish all at once, but began to have intervals, short silences where she simply existed without needing to solve anything mentally. At the hospital, colleagues commented that she seemed more present, less defensive. Audrey wasn't just less anxious. She was re-anchored in a body that once again sustained its own presence. This return to the bodily axis wasn't metaphorical. It was measurable. Breath that descends into the abdomen, steady warmth in the center of the chest, a nape that no longer accumulates that invisible weight by day's end. When her mind starts to speed up now, Audrey doesn't try to control it mentally. She places her middle fingers in the center of her sternum, applies gentle pressure while exhaling deeply 3 times, and feels the body signal safety before thought takes over. This gesture became her point of return, 30 seconds that interrupt the cycle of chronic vigilance. The physical marker that proves integration is clear. When the diaphragm is free, the breath drops effortlessly. When the sternum vibrates, the chest warms and presence returns. When the base of the skull is unblocked, mental clarity emerges naturally. The signal gesture that anchors this state is simple. Touch on the sternum, 3 deep exhalations with a low sound, full attention to the sensation of warmth expanding. The point of return is an inner phrase accompanied by upright posture and descending breath. My body sustains my mind. Repeating this ritual in 60 seconds whenever you feel the mind speeding up prevents the automatic return to the previous pattern. It isn't a positive affirmation nor creative visualization. It's somatic sealing, marking the new nervous pathway in the body, crystallizing the way back to the axis whenever there's a deviation. What changed in Audrey's story now belongs to her nervous system as muscle memory, as code inscribed in the fascia, and you've just received the same access key that reorganized her internal biology. What you learned here wasn't a relaxation technique. It was a return to a truth Western culture buried. The mind isn't the seat of command. It's the reflection of the bodily intelligence that sustains it. For years, you tried to solve with your head what only the body could heal. Each attempt to control racing thoughts added more vigilance to an already exhausted nervous system. The way back has always been in somatic reconnection, in the silent language the vagus nerve understands without rational translation. When the diaphragm releases, the sternum vibrates again, and the base of the skull clears. You're not just relieving symptoms, you're restoring the vertical axis where consciousness dwells, the bridge between the instinct that pulses in the belly and the perception that lights up at the crown of the skull. This axis is the sacred architecture God inscribed in the human body, the living temple where spirit and matter cease to be opposites and reveal themselves as faces of the same presence. The philosopher Baruch Spinoza wrote that mind and body are not separate substances, but parallel modes of the same reality, 2 languages describing the same truth. When you touch the sternum with ritual intention, when you free the diaphragm with sonic vibration, you aren't manipulating dead matter. You're conversing with the intelligence that precedes thought, the embodied knowing the body has held since before you learned to name things with words. Healing didn't happen when you understood the concept. It happened when you allowed the body to speak first again, to signal safety before the mind tried to decipher it. God didn't create the body as a prison for the soul. He created the body as the only instrument through which the soul can touch the visible world. Ignoring the body is ignoring the channel through which consciousness manifests. Healing it is recognizing that you were never merely a mind imprisoned. You have always been embodied presence. The stillness you've sought for years wasn't hiding in forced mental silence or rigid thought control. It was waiting in the body you learned to listen to again, in the diaphragm that returned to breathing, in the sternum that returned to vibrating, in the base of the skull that returned to conducting clarity. When the body sustains silence, the mind no longer needs to chase it. If this video resonated with you, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to continue this journey of bodily reconnection. If you wish to directly support the mission of the Inner Temple channel and help bring this wisdom to more people who need to rediscover the lost axis between body and mind, consider becoming a channel member. Your contribution keeps alive this transmission of knowledge that unites science and hermetic tradition. I want to know, how did you feel the opening of these 3 portals in your body? Write in the comments, I use my body to heal my mind. This affirmation seals your presence on the path of somatic healing. Share this video with someone who needs to discover that stillness isn't thought, it's felt. And don't stop here. Click on the screen and dive into another transformative video on the channel. Each activated portal brings you closer to the presence you were born to embody. Remember, when the body returns to sustaining silence, the mind ceases to be a prison and becomes a passage.